Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we're going to be pulling apart the modular asset pack to figure out what building blocks we've got and use that to put together our first design. Let's dive in. So here's the project. I've closed it and reopened it, and you can see we're in our dungeon level that's completely black at the moment. So we need to have a think about how we're going to populate this level. Well, first things first, let's go to our content drawer, and I want to open up the medieval dungeon demonstration level because we're going to pick this apart and try and figure out how the modular system of assets works. So the first thing to note is that it's quite hard to understand what's going on with all this moody lighting going on. So there's a button in the top left of the viewport that says lit, and this is the default mode that we're in. But you can actually view the scene in an unlit mode or a wireframe or lots of other options here. So if we click on unlit, you can see that this just shows us the textured surfaces of our meshes without actually giving us any of the lighting to confuse things. You could also have chosen wireframe, and that doesn't even texture the surfaces, but it can be really hard to figure out what's going on in this view. So we're going to switch back to the unlit view instead. And then the way I like to take apart these levels is to literally take them apart. So I go, okay, well, this floor looks interesting. Let's click on it and go, oh, okay, there's the outlines of a chunk of floor. This is what it means by being modular, is that the floor is made up of loads of tiles that are all the same size. And if I wanted to check that out and see what size this is, then just move the tile and you're going to see, okay, that's what the tile looks like. Cool. Okay, what else do we have? What about this wall? Is this something interesting? Yeah, okay, so it's created another tile here that acts as the wall, and you can see that actually the plank of wood and the chains are all separate actors here entirely. So you've got this wall, and it looks like the wall is the same size as the tiles. So this is a modular set where things try to match up with each other. They have the same set of standard sizes. We've also got a ceiling panel, which is a similar size. We've got these arch panels. You can see, if I dip down a little bit and have a look at the arch panel, you can see there's a couple of different building blocks. It's very much like Lego. If you've ever played with Lego, you've got a single piece, you've got a double piece, you've got this triple piece here as well. Then you've got the central block. And what about these pillars? Let's have a look at the pillar. Yep, that's just its separate thing, and we've got the arches are separate as well. Now you might want to be making a note of the name of these meshes so we can bring them in to our own scene later. So if I click on the floor, you can see that the floor mesh, if I click on general and scroll down to the static mesh selected and hover over it, you can see it's under the dungeon folder, and it's called SM floor. Now, I did mention that the crypt is slightly different down below. So down below, we've got a slightly different looking floor. And if I hover over the mesh there, it's called crypt floor. It's actually slightly smaller, I think. But we can easily check this out by going to a little 4-pane view that we can get to in our viewport. The top right, there's a little 4-pane icon. If you click on that, then that splits out our viewport into the 3D view that we're used to, but also a top-down, a right side, and a back side view of our level. And we can move around this to see what the different sizes of things are. In fact, if you were to middle click in this view, you can see it actually starts counting in Unreal units. So I can try and select from the top to the bottom and see that the floor is 500 units or 5 meters. And I could go and have a look, and it seems like the floor is the same in the upper levels. So if I select a floor that is just a straightforward SM floor and then middle click and drag to the bottom, you can see, aha, no, it's not. It looks like it is, but it's actually 600. So it's 6 meters. So the upstairs works on a different scale to the downstairs, and we'll have to just bear that in mind, that these are actually slightly different scales, and we may want to choose to use just one of them or multiple. We can see that we've got stairs as a component that we can use. They're modular as well, so you can make the staircase as long as you like so. And we can have a look at the ceiling height as well. So if I take the back view and I have a look at one of the crypt walls. So if I look down in the crypt and select one of these walls like that, and you can see the mesh is called crypt wall. And if I go and find that highlighted wall in one of my side views, then we can check out how tall a wall is in the crypt. Looks like it's 450 units versus perhaps a wall that's up in the dungeon. Select a dungeon wall, and we can see that the dungeon wall's height is 600. So much higher ceilings in the dungeon. So let's take stock of what we have with this modular asset pack. The main components here are floors, ceilings, and walls. These are essentially the building blocks of our level. We could start off just by using floors, ceilings, and walls to build out the vast majority of our level. We can then prettify and beautify this by adding pillars and arches on the corners and on the edges just to make it stick together architecturally. We've also got these cell walls to build out cells inside our dungeons. We've also got stairs. These are architecturally obviously important. If you want to have a multi-level dungeon or crypt or whatever, then you're going to need to use stairs to bridge the gap between the two. And then we've got lots and lots of variations on the theme. So we've got walls, but we've got different types of walls as well, so that it's not monotonously always looking the same. So with all these building blocks, I'd like you to design your own level. And here's the brief. So remember the sizes of your modular assets. We've got 600 wide elements. We're going to be doing basically a floor plan design of our level. So think about the sizes, whether you're going to want to use crypt elements or whether you're going to want to use dungeon elements, and include at least 2 levels so that we have somewhere to use our staircase and a little bit of intrigue and interest, and create multiple areas blocked off by some sort of obstacle, doors or secret walls, secret passages, a trapdoor, that sort of thing, which we can later add a moving component to so that we can open it up and the player can explore the level more fully. And ask yourself, what is the puzzle going to be? What's going to make it challenging for the player to find the way through your level and explore your design? So pause the video, have a go, be creative, and be inspired by other students' work. So once you've made a design, doesn't matter if you don't think it's particularly good, go and share it in the discussions for this lecture. Pause the video and have a go. Hello and welcome back. So I think it's quite instructive for us to take a look at literally the first drawing I drew of the level that we're going to be building, and it's pretty rough, so I just warn you, it needs some talking over. Basically, this is as rough as it gets for a level design sketch, right? So we've got over here the entrance doors, and I just kind of drew a pair of doors. My drawing's not particularly good here, as you can see. I had a table and chair, just like they had in the demo level, and then I've got 4 cells here, and we know that we've got this kind of blocky level design. So we've got 1 square here, then an empty square, then a square here, 2 empty squares in the middle, and then an square here, empty square, square, etc. Then I've got a staircase that leads down to the next level, and we've got a slightly smaller set of things down here in the crypt. What I had originally considered, and I don't think I'm going to do this actually in my final design, but I'd considered we have a corridor that goes both ways, and it initially looks like, where do you go? And there's this actual secret pit here that drops you through, and then you've got the challenge of trying to find your way out in this under corridor here, and in the under corridor you have to go and steal something. It gets blocked off by some rail over here, and so you need to put a vase in its place. But then you've also got to push a coffin from, or pull this table over here so that you can step up out of the secret pit again. So I had a few ideas of the different kind of puzzles that we were going to do, but I've decided to simplify this down to just the corridor that leads to this little section with a rail that blocks it off. Anyway, that's my very basic sketch. Obviously, you can spend more time on this, but it's just to get an idea. And once we get in and building our level, you may find that your ideas change. So I'll see you in the next video.